To me, going all in is truly living. It's courageous, it's scary, and it's also exhilarating. It's liberating and it's expansive. It's honoring the future more than it's honoring the past, but it's also really hard work because what it usually requires to go all in is to do things that we haven't done before or that we're uncomfortable doing. Whether it means that we have to do the emotional work to remove the blocks from us really going after it, or whether it's us putting resources in that makes us uncomfortable, we have to do something differently if we're trying to change the game of our own life. Hello and welcome to the Unlock Lab. I'm your host, Tosca DiMatteo. Today, we're talking about what it means to go all in, whether we're talking about your career, your life, your relationships, whatever. This episode is for you if you are ready for this to be the year that you make shit happen. First, let me tell you a little bit about myself if you're new to the podcast. I am the founder and CEO of Tosca Coaching and Consulting, and the work that I do is all about transformation. Whether I'm helping individuals, organizations, or audiences to discover what's holding them back from their biggest potential. To learn more, visit toscadimatteo.com. All right, now I'm here to talk to you about going all in. I'm super fired up. Actually, I'm so fired up about this topic that I put my desk in the standing position so that I'm talking to you standing up because that's how serious I am about this topic. Actually, last year I wrote a blog post called Living All In. And so that's another resource for you if this podcast episode is not enough. But I digress. The reason why I want to talk to you about this today is because I find that people leave potential on the table because they refuse or don't realize that they're not really going all in on what it is they're trying to do. And this can be individuals, it can be leaders as well as organizations. The first thing that kind of comes to mind when I think about organizations, right, is this idea of, putting people first, right, and creating workplace cultures that are places for belonging and inclusion and all the things that we've been talking about these past several years. Obviously, also before that, but really those conversations have been amped up these past few years. And we know when organizations are truly going all in on that, right? Like, are they hiring the right folks? Are they putting resources behind these initiatives? Are they looking at their company values? Are they looking at their leadership? And unfortunately, I feel like there's not a lot of examples where companies are truly going all in to say, this matters to us. And that's a problem because then it just becomes lip service because we're really not doing all the things that we need to do to turn the tide, to see a new future. And so, on an individual level, we have to ask ourselves the same thing. Are we doing the things that really honor what we're trying to do, how we're trying to play big in our lives and in our leadership? Are we going all in? And first and foremost, that question that I would ask is, are you going all in on yourself? Because I think that what people do is they say, gosh, yeah, this year I want to get a new job, for example, right? I want to make a shift. But are you actually doing all the things that you could possibly do to show the universe and to prove to yourself that you mean business? The same thing, let's just say health and wellness is your priority. Are you really doing all the things? Or is that goal not really embedded in your soul yet? Or are you afraid of what it means to go all in, of what you might need to sacrifice or the consequences that you might need to make? For example, I see people all the time, they want to make a change in their career, but they don't give themselves the kind of support they need in order to do that. They keep investing more in their past than they do in their future, which means they're still super focused on making everybody happy in their current job versus finding the time and getting the resources that will help them to get their story together for what's next. And I'm not saying this in a self serving fashion. Look, I think the best thing anybody can do when they're trying to make a shift, a big transition, when they want to get that promotion or shift industries or functions, you need resources, you need mentors, you need sponsors, you need coaches. Are you going all in? Or are you still playing small? Are you refusing to open up your pocketbook? Are you refusing to put that thing on the credit card because this is how important it is to you? Look, and I say this not to get into debt. I'm not suggesting that you make terrible financial decisions that are hard to bounce back from, but are you really energetically and emotionally and resource wise putting your money where your mouth is? And I want to take this moment here to pause on this podcast, not a popular thing to create a pause, but think about it. The thing that you've identified that you really want this year, that you're going after, are you going all in on it really and truly? I want to tell you a story. I mentioned I wrote a blog last year, Living Your Life All In, something to that effect. It's on my website, toscadimatteo.com/blog. Anyway, and in this blog, I wrote that I was going all in 2023 in my business like I've never done before. I was going to invest in things like I've never done before. And I was going to claim where I was going and where I was taking my business and what I was doing. And one of those big things that I claimed for myself is that I was going to be a keynote speaker and I was going to do it on big stages and eventually global stages. And I realized I really had to go all in on that. And what that looked like for me is one of the things I did was I created my own stage. I created my own event. Not only did I create my own event to give my first keynote talk on inner critics, but then I decided to invest and have it recorded. I had it recorded so that I can then use that content to show people what I'm all about and what kind of speaker I am. In hindsight, that was some crazy shit. I'm not gonna lie. Like I decided to record the first time that I'm going big on this inner critic talk and I'm putting my heart and soul into it. But that's what going all in looks like. It looks like I'm not waiting for the opportunity. I'm creating the opportunity. I'm creating what I need to go after what I want because it's already in my orbit. It's already within my reach. And I'm so freaking glad that I did that. Yeah, I rolled the dice, I took the risk, but I went all in not only because I chose to do it that way, but I chose a vendor that I really trusted, several vendors that I really trusted to do this right and well and up level myself and my assets, right? And that has created so much opportunity and so many conversations, and it's doing exactly what I was hoping it was doing. But the real work is in that journey of deciding you're going to go all in and give yourself what you really need and do what actually feels good versus maybe skirt along the edges of what you actually want. Going all in also means that you deeply trust and honor your truth and that you don't give up when the going gets tough. Going all in means you are willing to ride the waves and stand in the storms that are going to test you. Because when we play bigger in our life, I guarantee you, you are going to be tested. You are going to be tried. And so going all in means you're not going to let the storm stop you from keep taking one step forward and one step forward and one step forward. That always means you're stepping into the unknown. When you're doing things you've never done before, it means you're willing to measure success differently as well. And oftentimes, people, they get to that edge when it gets really, really hard and they back off. And what I'm asking you today is, are you willing to lean in to those moments that you feel like this wasn't meant for you? That's what going all in requires. Going all in requires that you also have to ask yourself, what do I have to stop doing? What do I have to start doing differently in order to achieve what I'm looking to achieve? It might mean you have to really take a hard look at what boundaries you need to hold because you're focusing on something big. And if you're not sure about how to do that, go back and listen to my episode on boundaries. It was the first episode I ever did. That's how important boundaries are to living our biggest life. It means that you may have to really evaluate what flow you're in terms of giving and receiving, and making sure it's in balance always, even when you're going after big things. I think you have to be really careful about what you're holding back on in terms of allowing yourself to also give so that that flow of receiving can come back to you. There's a big concept around balance and flow of giving and receiving. And I'm not going to go deep into it now, but just look and evaluate and observe yourself. Am I stopping my blessings? Or am I holding myself back from giving because I feel like I have nothing to give, or because I'm being selfish? There's a difference, something to think about. Going all in for yourself is supportive in helping other people to go all in on themselves. Take people with you on the ride. They get inspired by it. See what happens when you look at going all in as a collective opportunity and not just your personal individual goal. Change that perspective. See what you discover. Take a look at it from a higher point of view. For example, if you're looking to grow in your leadership responsibilities, what happens when you give yourself permission to go after the job that you don't think you're quite qualified for? You're actually paving the way for somebody who's meant for the job that you're currently in because they're ready. You going after it enables somebody else to go after what they want to go after. It's a beautiful ripple effect when we honor our truth and we don't hold ourselves back from going after what we desire. On a personal front, when I hit my 40th birthday milestone, I decided to go all in on that. I decided I wanted to take a trip to Italy, and that took a lot of planning and that took a lot of visualizing. But I did it. It meant that much to me. And I went all in on making sure I could have the experience that I want. So this conversation goes into all facets of our lives. In terms of the work you're doing in an organization, how powerful would it be if you stepped into that meeting and you said, I don't think we're going all in on this goal. Is this really our priority? Is this really what we want to achieve? Because if we do, maybe there's some more things that we need to do to actually support us in achieving the success that we need. And this is a great way to pressure test priorities and understand success metrics that are reasonable or not based on what the organization is putting forward. So, this kind of scratches the surface on taking inventory on what you're doing or not doing to go all in on your goals this year. And we're still super early in the year. So, now's the time to say to yourself, what do I got to do differently? What do I have to resource? What do I have to get uncomfortable in to really step into my power? And if you have any questions about this, please reach out and let me know. I would absolutely love to hear from you. I'd love to hear what big goals you have. We could talk about what it looks like for you to go all in. I'd love to have that conversation with you. To me, going all in is truly living. It's courageous, it's scary, and it's also exhilarating. It's liberating and it's expansive. It's honoring the future more than it's honoring the past, but it's also really hard work because what it usually requires to go all in is to do things that we haven't done before or that we're uncomfortable doing. Whether it means we have to do the emotional work to remove the blocks from us really going after it, or whether it's us putting resources in that makes us uncomfortable, we have to do something differently if we're trying to change the game of our own life. So, cheers to you in changing the game of your own life, your career, and your organization. And if I can be a support to you, don't hesitate to reach out. You can find me at coachtosca.com. It's great to see you in the lab, and I hope to see you next time. If this was inspiring to you or you had an aha moment, please don't be afraid to follow, rate, and review this podcast on whatever platform you happen to be listening on it to. Thanks again, and ciao for now.